Hi, my name is Dustin. Until further notice, the video you're about to see is regarding the trans debate. And before you assume it's going to be a regurgitation of the typical rhetoric that you're used to hearing, I would ask you to reconsider because you might be surprised. Anyway, here we go. The things I am going to say here are sure to gain me a few enemies, but in retrospect, this ridiculous battle has left me with no friends to speak of, and I really stand to lose nothing. I'm sure you realize by now that I am trans, and I guess I feel like I'm not really supposed to be here right now. Making a YouTube video is not something that I ever imagined I would do. I was really pretty opposed to putting myself out there on YouTube, really, but I like YouTube. It's just this isn't really my thing, but I feel compelled to clear up a few things, not only for myself but for other trans people who might share in some of my points of view. So the less than 1% of the global population that make up trans people. So I guess this is happening because I'm just really tired of being in the crossfire between this left and right thing. This trans movement, as they're coining it. So I have some questions maybe, and would just like to establish my points of view on some of these topics that seem to be controversial and trending regardless. So to the left, I guess I just want to know why exactly I'm being misrepresented by some of your people claiming to be truth advocates who are actually just denouncing rationality. Seems like science gets brought to the table, gets brought to the debate, and they tuck tail and run. I mean, I don't want that representing me. The false things that have been leaned on lately, I don't want that representing me. I mean, fairy tale BS doesn't hold weight, any weight, in the real world where we all live. So this magical ideology that keeps getting pushed, it makes everything about you appear fake. That's cast on all of us. I don't want your advocacy. Honestly, I wish this whole woke thing would just go take a nap. That's my opinion. I'm just done. I'm tired of the nonsense, the negativity for nothing or for BS. It's not entertaining. Now, to the right, you're frustrated. I think I've made it somewhat clear that I can relate to that. However, you have made relating increasingly difficult lately. I remember a time when we could find common ground on lots of things. But your anger's getting the best of you, I think. You cannot dispose of radical ideology on the left with God. It will not work. I respect religion, all religions. But the truth is that absent of any provable facts and unbacked by any science, it's as magical a weapon to bring to the fight as left ideology is. What's that going to do? Nothing real, nothing establishable, nothing forward. I pointed out before how magical ideology threatens credibility, your credibility. And I hope you understand that. And I hope you understand that putting someone in your religious crosshairs just because they're trans is going to diminish any respect that there was for the religion or the politics. With respect to the idea of faith, which a lot of you are aware of, I have faith. I have faith in humanity. I have faith in the humanity of humans specifically. Can I count on you? In addition, I want to ask you to stop throwing all trans people into the pit to burn based on other people's actions, other people's ideas. We aren't all clones. Far from it. So, I mean, an approach of judging everyone of a particular group, in this case being trans, judging them based on the actions of a few, is extremely tiny-minded, and it's lazy, frankly. With that methodology of thinking, if you took the word gender and you swapped it out for race, your approach would be racist. I want you to think about that. And I would hope that you figure everything out and stop saying that your aim is to abolish transgenderism from America, because for a trans person, I can't imagine an all-encompassing thing more terrifying than to hear that. It gives me more sympathy for people historically than I already had. That's like it's like saying I'm going to fight to abolish Jewish people from America. I mean, what would that feel like for a Jewish person? Why do you think it's different for a trans person? What do you have to back up that it is different? Don't worry, I'll wait. The fear it incites is very real. We are few, and we are being pitted against many, some of us against our will. So moving forward, I want to express my thoughts and points of view on a few topics that are currently trending in this gender debate or trans debate. These views obviously are mine, and I would say they are through the perspective of a self-proclaimed, rationally minded trans person that hasn't abandoned all sanity and whose feet remain firmly planted on the ground. That's my allegation anyway. I want to say thanks for hearing my side. I appreciate the consideration and your time. So, number one, I am a biological male. I was born with all the typical male parts that you would expect. I've lived the vast majority of my life in the role of a man. At times, I did that quite well. Now, apart from a lifetime of dysphoria and an all-out gender war that waged in my head, and still does, although far less, I know that I will never be a biological female. That's not reality, and I'm aware of that. And I worry for anyone who doesn't see things that way. Trans people are legitimate, but trans people will never be biologically female. I always thought that was common sense. Seems like it's not so common anymore. That makes a lot of things seem surreal when I think about that. So number two that I wanted to talk about, as I said before, my pronouns are, that's right, I didn't say, did I? It's because pronouns are words. Category words, right? What it boils down to. And honestly, to see pronouns become a key topic in this debate is an insult and complete mockery of the real struggles faced by trans people. That's both moving forward and these mountains moved and these extreme challenges that our trans predecessors had to overcome and did overcome when they blazed that trail that all of our paths start on today. Honestly, if pronouns is your big struggle, I would like to offer you my life. I will willingly swap with you if that is your big struggle, or even one of them. I can't imagine being so without issues and so without real problems that pronouns could even make its way as a blip on my radar. My mind does not wrap around that one. I do not understand that. I see my big brother every single day. If I had to guess, I would say on average, bare minimum, he calls me bro 15 times. And like I said, that's on a slow day. Love you, big bro. He's called me bro for 38 years. There's nothing he could call me that would feel more natural to him. But that doesn't threaten my gender identity. That does not rock my foundation. It disturbs and threatens absolutely nothing about me, including my gender identity. that part of me is not dependent on anyone's words or magical ideas, falsity, labels, or anything else outside of me. That is just a part of me. If I heard bro 1,000 times a day for the rest of my life, yeah, nothing would be disturbed within me. Everything would remain intact. My gender identity is something woven deep within my core that nobody will shake and nothing will shake, especially something as petty as pronouns. If my brother didn't call me bro, I'm not even sure I would know how to react to that. Hearing it from 38 years from him, I can't think of him calling me anything more natural. Within my own mind, that would feel right. So, I don't know. When it comes to gender identity, why is it so sensitive? Nobody is even capable of attacking my gender identity as severely and violently as I have at various times in my own life. I did. If it showed me one thing, it showed me that it absolutely is not fragile. You know, it took me a really long time into early adulthood to understand it. That even after that, it took more time to accept it. And unfortunately, more years passed before I finally was able to embrace it. So it's left me at least this far in my life, and people grow, but I have not been successful in finding any compassion for anyone who says that they're trans, and that this was an absolute realization that they had right from the get. So to realize that from Jump Street, and to say that you accepted that day one, that just does not seem realistic to me. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, that's rooted in the personal opinion that I'm entitled to, but it's based on my life experiences. So take that as you will, I guess. Now, on the contrary, that struggle has made compassion for those who are struggling to accept things about me that took me years and years to accept come really easily. Can you imagine how ridiculous and hypocritical it would be for me to adopt any other approach to skepticism or difficulty in accepting what was so difficult for me to accept? Again, rationality, reason, truth. The fragility of it being pushed today is incomprehensible to me. I can't make sense of it as a trans person. So next, number 3, I would like to talk about acceptance and the ridiculous expectations that this movement seems to have regarding it. The expectation that a trans person should be able to go to a public place wearing a luxurious flowing dress that matches beautifully their luxurious flowing beard, and because they desire to be called man, or because their frail gender identity feels a need to be addressed as man. And to believe that is all it should take for you to get that outcome is outlandish. But when you don't, you demand it and make a scene otherwise, I'd call that childish, but I don't want to insult children. Now, I might not be up to speed with like where this kind of thought process and entitlement and where that expectation for that kind of outcome might be based. But common sense says it's absolutely not based in anything resembling anything like reality. I think we need to get real and grow up. The fact is that regardless of how feminine your attire might be, it will never override natural human wiring of the brain in regards to human interaction. If you fail to successfully minimize your biologically male physical attributes and are unable to implement ways to outweigh them and project to others the appearance of possessing more female physical attributes than you do male, then your expectations of being addressed as your desired gender are unreasonable. This isn't Fantasyland. That's outlandish. You should try harder, maybe. I don't know. You can't expect people to be psychic. Give me a break. I'm trans, and what? I'm going to be like, initially, what's the first thing I'm going to think? What do you expect of people? Come on. This isn't going to be easy. Fact is, our outwardly apparent gender is one of the first determinations the human brain is going to make prior to engagement with someone that initial time meeting them. And guess what? That has basically nothing to rely on apart from the physical appearance that you're projecting in the world. Why would someone call you sir if that's not what they saw more of upon meeting you the first time? This works really well, actually, for the human brain. It works amazingly because 99% of the global population, well, their biological sex follows right in suit with their gender identity. They're right there lined up, so perfect. Right? It must be so nice. But guess what? That's the norm. That's the human brain. And that methodology that the human brain is naturally resorting to is all it has. We are a minority. Norm is normal. That's why basing it on that initial appearance, lacking the psychic ability you expect people to have, is 99% accurate. No one is justified attacking anyone that misgenders someone the first time they met them. That determination is largely dependent on you, not that person. Can we get real yet? Now, let me clarify. I fully understand that not every trans person can successfully accomplish that. Look at me. I can't accomplish that myself. I also feel that every human deserves some general level of respect and common courtesy. And if someone, a trans person, has requested that you address them as the gender they identify with, and that has been clarified to you, and you don't, then you're not acting instinctively. You're not, you you know what you're doing. You have intent. And what you're doing is disrespectful and it's hateful. To deny that that's malicious is dumb, because it is. Now, that's not to say that I agree in any way with charging parents with a crime for misgendering their child. How is that? More likely than not, your child is misgendering themselves because it's a child. And that's the kind of stuff that's ridiculous to me. As far as everything has come to give trans people some kind of equality, the ridiculous ideology that is just false, that is being clung to so desperately with this whole movement, the things that are absolutely incomprehensible and don't make any sense that some of you are asking for. That is what has prompted these new bills to come into office. The ridiculous ideology that is based nowhere in truth. People weren't trying to fight trans people as a whole until some of you came out with complete BS, weird, dumb things to say and try to legitimize it with bullshit. Try to change policy for bullshit causes to do nothing for real trans issues. So what are you doing? You're setting us back. You are turning back all of that was done for bullshit. I don't appreciate it. I won't jump on that bandwagon. You and I are not the same. So, yeah, the point that I'm trying to express here to trans people with any kind of expectation like that is that being trans is not the norm. We know this. Trans people are an anomaly. Trans people are very much a minority. Being trans is my problem. If you're trans, that's your problem. This can be our struggle. But you are placing expectations on the public, on society, that are unrealistic. I don't know why. Why would you have a ridiculous expectation? It doesn't make any sense. Unless you're that fragile in who you are, which at that point I would say you need some more life experience so you can no longer question this about yourself. You don't change policy. You don't make the 99% conform to you. We are the ones that are not the norm. There are lots of things that I have to do in my life to conform and try to get by with less hurdles in this world, okay? Lots of them. You have no idea. I would never be so ridiculously full of myself and feel so entitled that I would think that everyone else needed to change because I didn't like something. Who are you? The one representing me lately. Society didn't make you trans. Don't ask society to question and disregard their innocent, natural human instincts. It's a dick move. Anyways, in regard to dumping problems and our struggles onto society, if we do that, at what point are they no longer our problems and no longer our struggles? Me personally, I would feel like my valor got stolen. We've all heard of stolen valor. But the fact of the matter would be that it got sold by this trans movement. Can we get real? I'll stand by any trans person and defend them with everything I have. But I won't defend lies. I will be your comrade. I will be your teammate. But don't ask me to blow smoke. Don't you dare ask me to hold mirrors up. Because I don't need the bullshit to be validated. Maybe you'll get there someday. But this is way over the top. And I guess the fourth thing I want to talk about is trans people, trans women being allowed in women's sports. Trans women have no business in women's sports. Period. I have a little context to go with that too. So, the day that I was made aware of trans people being allowed to join in women's sports was when my brother informed me of the trans MMA fighter who destroyed a veteran MMA fighter and veteran boxer. Okay, veteran. In their debut MMA fight. That's their first fight, if you didn't know. But all was well. They were proud of what they did. And their hormone levels were checked, and they were in line with a woman's. So all is fair, right? Well, the day before that, I actually had my quarterly doctor's appointment. And they don't check my hormones at all of my appointments, but they happened to check them at that one. I don't know if it was the diet I was on that week or what it was, but my hormone levels, okay, gave me a little perspective here. My estrogen was a little bit higher than the average biological female when she's ovulating. My testosterone was lower than a brand new newborn baby girl's. So I was able to assess myself. How do I feel right now? Where's my power level at? I'm not going to go into any detail, but I've been through a lot in my life. A lot more than a lot of people will go through. You can check that all you want. Please do. One thing I did experience was MMA when I was younger. So I thought to myself, if I was to have an MMA fight, with a female right now, would that be fair? Could I say that was fair? Absolutely not. There, um, apart from some we have women out there that are incredible at a lot of things, but there's not a woman that would match my weight class that would have stood a chance on that very day after I had those hormones checked. The advantage I would have over that woman, it's sickening to think about it. I would never engage in it. You're messed up for engaging in it. You don't have respect for women if you go and do that. You don't. It's not an opinion. I'm not going to state that as an opinion. You don't. Everything that women go through and have gone through historically, what they go through in sports, they're busting their asses every day. Those records, they came harder for them than a lot of the men's records did. How much longer did it take them to get recognized for shit? They still don't. And if you're a trans person and your hormone levels match that of a woman, and you say that you feel it is fair for you to compete in women's sports, you're a goddamn liar. You are a liar, period. For someone born as a biological male, especially going through puberty as a male does things to a person. It's like a light switch. Something happens. There's a distinctive day in that process of going through puberty as a male where your strength is just launched beyond anything that it was. It's hard to wrap your mind around even as a kid. Like, oh my God. Wow. When did this happen? I was a beast when I lived life as a man. What we do to survive. But if you're competing in women's sports and you're proud of what you're doing in women's sports, you are. And what I wouldn't do to get my hands on you, I would feel an obligation. You couldn't do it as a man. Don't come in and steal it from women. And then have the audacity to say you feel like a woman at heart and have any goddamn respect for them. You're a piece of crap. All right, so I want to lighten up off of that and, for my own sake, not theirs, talk about medical aid in transitioning. So I won't go too deep, but I am so grateful for that, to having that available. There's really only one flaw I can really say about it. And that is that the end goal of the insurance coverage for transitioning seems to be always focused on, they call it gender reassignment, I guess, but it's really just male sexual organ modification, right? I don't know what's that have to do with a person's gender identity, but and it's under the guise to cure dysphoria, and it's all after you begin transitioning. Now, a lot of the things, the negativity that we as trans people are going to experience in life after we begin that transition is going to be accredited to outward appearance. So the whole thing they do with the bottom surgery doesn't make sense to me. I almost feel like it's just more sexualization of being transgender, which is ridiculous. I mean, we're already thrown into a group of sexual preferences. Think about it. The LGBTQ, those are all sexual preferences, apart from us. I wish I was attracted to men. I would have comprehended what I was long, long before I did. It would have been so much easier, but I'm not. Now, by people that hate me, that makes me straight. People like me, I'm gay. But why would that be the surgery that's offered? A surgery that costs $80,000+ to have done, okay? For something that is going to have zero effect on the dysphoria that you're going to experience from being a member of society, which is most of it after you start transitioning. Nobody can see that. Why is that what we're doing? Why are we not promoting facial feminization surgery? Because that is what is going to help people. Now, I'm not about a trans person tricking tricking men into going to bed with them. That's disgusting. And yeah, there's something seriously wrong with that. No, I do not agree with that. But why is it always about sex anyway? I just want to be normal. And for $20,000 of insurance coverage for that surgery, as opposed to $80,000 to change your sex life, just makes more sense to me. I mean, accept it as who you are, So that's the only thing I see wrong with the insurance help aspect of medically transitioning. Like I said, I am so grateful for that. The balance that I have now internally, it's I could never repay that, as opposed to what I felt. And I was a man's man, and I had as many friends as I wanted. Didn't matter. Maybe I'll show a picture because I'm not scared of that person. Because like I said, I'm not fragile. So maybe I'll show a picture of me as a man. But it was hell inside, Being that person is what made everyone happy. And I did it quite well. I was taught by an amazing man who was really good at being a man. I was terrified of what I might be, of being thrown away or whatever. But I think that facial feminization surgery should be should be offered first of all, but the end goal, I guess, for most trans people. If the fact that you have a penis was such a horrible, unsettling thing for trans people, I think that we would hear about more trans people chopping theirs off on the news or something. I don't know. I've never heard of it, and it doesn't bother me. I will not have the surgery because I don't need to. It's not a source of any of my dysphoria. This is on so many levels, so much deeper than anything sexual. You can keep that crap. Now last, I am going to talk about how I feel about our children in this debate. Now, as a trans person, I'm going to be the first to tell you, I could not even identify what this was that was wrong with me. I knew something was wrong. It put me on a suicidal death wish path for many, many, many years before I understood it. But that never would have happened as a child. I didn't know why I felt more at home playing with dolls with a cousin that I didn't get along with that well. I felt more at home doing that than I did with brothers or male cousins, some of them who I admired and was great friends with for the most part. As a child, you're playing with dolls one day, you're out in the yard in a ninja costume, throwing down with the boys the next. Or you want to be Princess Toadstool when you grow up after that. And the next day you want to be a damn toaster oven. They're kids. When did they become adults that could make these life-altering and changing and potentially harmful decisions for themselves. If that's the case, the military really needs help right now. Why don't you go sign them up? Why don't you sign off on them having the right to go up to the liquor store, grab themselves a pint or a case of beer? They're all grown now, right? It is ridiculous. I don't understand how a compassionate, caring, good-hearted parent could ever do that to their child or to encourage it. Nobody wants this. Nobody wanted to be trans. No real trans person wants that. So whatever the reason, whatever the driving force is behind it, political or otherwise, quit fucking with kids. It's disgusting. Who fucking does that? What parent does that? And this is coming from the perspective of a parent. I'm a single parent. The person I was going to spend the rest of my life with, she's dead. And our child is with me full time. And he is an amazing spectacle. And I will do anything to protect him, including combat this completely ridiculous ideology. And the fact that you think that children should be pulled into it at all. What is wrong with you? That's my thoughts on that. I guess to summarize, I'm just tired of being caught in the middle of it all, I guess. I'm tired of being looked at like a piece of crap because of the ideas that the loudest, most outrageous people claiming to be trans are out promoting. Why does it have to be everyone against trans people in general? I want the science, you know? I am so hopeful that one day science will come through and we'll be able to tell what makes trans people trans. I don't doubt it, and I don't run from the truth. And that's what's going on. Garbage is being pushed, and science is being denounced. Why is it not truth against bullshit? They're not me. They don't represent me. Please don't judge me, and please don't attack me. I have not abandoned my sanity. I'm not going to agree with what they were saying just because I think it's going to advance the good of trans people acceptance or whatever, you know? Like, this is real versus not real. I love humanity. And humanity's beauty is encompassed by reality and the truths of it. It was such a crapshoot for us to even be here on this planet. There's so many beautiful things in the world. We don't need lies to make it more colorful. I like the truth. I'm a trans person. Okay, it's working. Oh god, no. No makeup. I just wanted to... This is the last part, I promise, of the video. I'm just trying to get everything out of the way. I don't plan on coming back and doing this again, so some things I kind of forgot in the video, and other things I just wanted to point out or elaborate on. I don't want to be trying to run down things I said, in 2 months. So, as far as the science behind everything that makes people like me us, no one, is certain what causes transgenderism. But modern research is really kind of closing that distance between us and those answers, especially recently. A lot of the more recent studies, they're strongly pointing towards possibly treatable and preventable external factors that were at play, and that's regarding trans women specifically. There's a pattern, that is happening with a number of studies, and those are all acknowledged on the National Library of Health's government website, if you want to look into it. And they're pointing towards genetic and brain abnormalities as a result of a combination of both high stress and low testosterone. And that's during specific stages of development in the brain. Now, what everything seems to point to seems to be external forces. Whether it's just in the womb or during development as a child, or both, who knows? And really, as it sits right now, this is something that they can consistently reproduce in rats. And I know that only holds so much weight. But it is very promising, and it's a huge step in the right direction compared to where we were 10 years ago. I mean, it's an enormous leap, really. In regards to trans masculine women, the research has actually seemed to find even more definitive and stronger evidence for them than trans women even so far. So the kind of research they're doing now, they've done some research on humans. I think this test subject they did was over 2,000 people from both sides of the gender spectrum for females. And there's been a consistent pattern of a specific genotype that appears a lot more abundantly in trans masculine women than it does in cis women. The genotype they're seeing repeatedly is specific, and it is associated with gender identity as well as some sexual orientation. So that's not rats. In regard to understanding transgenderism at its core biological composition, that's the stuff that we need. If it is determined that these external factors are the cause of us, then the proper prevention is reasonable to assume it would be implemented, maybe even soon. And that makes me sad to think that we could be so close to the non-existence of trans people, a world without. I see so much beauty and strength in what we endure, and we overcome, to achieve the balance that comes just naturally for almost everyone else. And I'm fascinated by how resilient our brains are, the human brain, that it could be feminized during development, and still, because of that, it's strong. I mean, the brain is strong. It has the ability to challenge and overcome the masculine pressures of not only the male body that it's occupying, but the social norms that are pressing hard every day. If that research holds up and it continues advancing in a direction, then by definition, being trans would fall into the category of a birth defect. That is a term I've only heard myself use before. For me, that's big, because understanding that was a reasonable possibility, and contributing to me accepting. For me, that's big, because understanding there was a reasonable possibility that my disorder was a birth defect. It played a big role in my accepting who I was, because I battled it for so long. I didn't approach it and didn't feel some of the things that some people said you would. There was no attraction to men, and that was, of course, it's better understood now, but the only other option it seemed to be, besides relying on what I felt in my heart, was like gynophilia, which is a term that the trans community seems to be terrified of. But that didn't fit either. And I did have to partially accept on a whim, but it was an educated whim and a life experience whim, and just one I couldn't deal with. You can only fight something for so long, and it tears you down. I mean, that understanding or belief, along with medical HRT, has brought me a complete balance and a peace with my existence. I am, as you know, angered and offended by the abuse and manipulation that people are using to undermine our acceptance. Seems to, leverage control and promote lies and agendas. Yeah, that pisses me off. I don't believe for a second that our social fabric needs to be uprooted, nor do the realities of every person's existence need to be ignored and denied in order for us to be accepted. It's funny, the irony of the woke movement so closely resembling sleep deprivation and its delusionary results. It's kind of unprecedented. Like I said, I think it's way past nap time. When it comes to children are not given the power of jurisdiction over any choices that we categorize as adult. Things like life-altering or potentially damaging and dangerous decisions in any aspect of their childhood. So I don't understand why we would allow them jurisdictional decision-making power over something like transitioning, but only transitioning. It makes no sense. That would literally be the one adult decision that children would be allowed to make that is dangerous. You can't expect logical people to make sense of something like that and to support it. The increase in anti-trans bills that we've seen just in the last year, that kind of shit, that kind of thinking, or that kind of delusion in the way things should be, is what prompted all of those bills to come into office. You did that. I mean, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. You did that. Your woke movement is what did that. You caused that. Now, I'm not saying the response to you is the right one. Absolutely not. But where does it stem? We can, sit here and treat a symptom all day long. We could fix what caused it. As in, you could take a seat. For kids, back on topic, we don't give them that power. And the reason that we hold that power from them is because of our own experiences as a child. And they've taught us that we most definitely lack the tools only acquired through life experience. The experience necessary to fully assess and make these kind of choices. And without that, we have no comprehension of the consequences of choices we make on this kind of level. We're oftentimes finding ourselves grateful that our parents withheld that and deprived us of that power that no child needs. What if they wouldn't have? Would that be responsible parenting? It's our responsibility to withhold that responsibility. Not everyone transitions. If your child believes that they are trans, we know that not everyone transitions. There are variables. And transitioning is no one's decision but the person transitioning. I think we can all agree on that as well. Sound-minded decision. That is an adult decision. The risk factors at play with that decision and that choice, when applied to any other aspect of decision making in life, are not granted to children. Why would this be? There is no logic to that argument. If you think you have one, bring it. I'm anxious to hear this. That's what I mean. I can't even talk to people. Like, you just so fantastical that nothing. I got magic walls to get through, Kids don't. You don't pull kids into that. Kids' minds aren't ready for that. The ambiguity in a child's mind is a dizzying thing. Don't leave them to rely on it. I'm glad that your parents didn't leave you to. So, back on women's sports, I just want to say, humanity will never be proud of what has already been violated in women's sports. That's just always going to be a mark of shame on humanity, and I don't think that it should be allowed to get any bigger. Being proud of this or thinking that this is what should be accepted. I don't think it's possible unless your identity is rooted in unreal things. Those aren't trans women. I don't care. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, okay? Those people hate women. They don't respect women. They have some kind of animosity towards women. They're not trans women. They do not share anything with a woman. They set out to take from a woman to heighten themselves. That's not a trans woman. Those are men in dresses, men dressing as women, and they couldn't do it as men, and they're taking it from women. And where do they get off? Where do we get off allowing that to happen? We should be ashamed. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that I can do nothing besides talk in a video about it. Those people are an embarrassment to people like me. They're categorized with people like me. They're the complete opposite of people like me. We share nothing in common. They're sadistic, evil people. Now, whether something therapeutic will fix them, I don't know. But you need to get them away from women's sports. Even trans women at our core, we are males with some form of illness, birth defect, whatever science comes to prove that it is something wrong, and it is having a profound effect on our gender. But this is still a man's body, and especially if you've gone through puberty, you've experienced things that have given you an advantage that no woman can match in a fair fashion. You know that, though. Like I said, I gave my example. It's undeniable. You are really something else to me, and I just want to reassert that. Just real quick, this whole thing with trans people in women's bathrooms. I don't know. If you have a penis, you probably shouldn't be in a woman's bathroom. Maybe there would be exceptions made for people who have undergone that surgery and they don't have weapons commonly used in the trade in a isolated private area like that, okay? And I'm sorry, but with as much BS and fakeness as I've seen out there, I don't put it past someone claiming to be trans, just like they claim to be trans in sports, to claim to be trans and take advantage of those disadvantages that could play out in a woman's bathroom. I'm sorry, but yeah, maybe just if you don't have that part, maybe if that's what you want to do, because I don't know, I'm a statistics kind of person and a fact-based person, and I would say statistically, when men assault women in that way, they do it with when a male, let's just say this, when someone born a male assaults a woman in that way, I would bet 99 times out of 100 they're assaulting her with their penis. So therefore, if you have one, no, I don't think you should be in a woman's bathroom. You should be in a woman's college course because I believe your brain is a woman's, but your body is still a man's. I'm born in a man's body. Without medical intervention, I wasn't born with these. This is not that complex. What you are running away from is more complex. These trivial things that have common sense answers that are being violated. What a waste of time and effort. You know, have some compassion and understanding for people that don't go through what we go through, and some comprehensive ability as to what it must be like to attempt to understand it and interpret from those shoes. You are failing horribly. We need that compassion to come back to humanity. And I agree that there are differences of opinions and beliefs and completely different paths in life, and that just happens. And when it does, I think people need to quit treating it as automatic hate. Oh, we don't have the same beliefs, so I hate you. That is not hate. You do not have to disagree with people and hate them if you do disagree. That doesn't make sense. That's not how it used to be. That's not how we operate. Disagreeing with someone and interacting with them is what brings you to realistic, fact-based conclusions. Everybody locks himself in a box now. Doesn't make sense. The only way to exist on this planet to its fullest extent is to do it through reality. We need to get real. I appreciate your time. If you like this video and you think that it can do any good out anywhere, I would encourage that you share it. If you like it, I would ask that you try to maybe just leave a comment, just even if it's just a thumbs up. I don't necessarily want likes on this video. I don't want it to ever be misconstrued as something monetarily driven, or otherwise. I just want it presented as it is intended, for truth. So it'd be great to, see your comment, and just to know that you're out there, and not alone, I guess. I really just have my brother and my son to lean on, and I'm thankful for that. But I'm not I'm not a member of the trans community. I live in Iowa. I no longer talk to anyone, or have anyone to talk to besides those two. And it's been a lonely journey. But it's been necessary to not. I won't bandwagon. I won't jump on lies. I won't support them. Like I said, share this if you think it can benefit anyone or benefit humanity and understanding. And we're not all sick, We're not all okay with throwing children under the bus to forward our ideas of what things should be. I am what I am, and that's that. I'm not a magical unicorn. I don't know when so many people came to the idea that they were, but you're not. You're a man body and a chick brain. Sucks. We're attempting to deal with it. Not attempting to make everyone else suffer from it. I'm Dustin until further notice, and I am a trans person. Thank you for watching.